Alright. It's as parallel as it's been all evening. This is gonna just be an ongoing problem. Everyone, welcome to the video. Today, we are going to be continuing the topic of talking about gender in Naruto, but now I'm getting completely into headcanon territory, no basis in canon whatsoever, because that is what is fun for me. I'm going to do a little bit of vocabulary for our cisgender friends or friends who are not in the know about transgender vocabulary. So I'm going to put a timestamp here-ish for people who want to skip to when I am actually just talking about the headcanons. I'm not going to go over literally everything, so if something is confusing and is not like Naruto specific, please just use Google. AFAB, A-F-A-B, means assigned female at birth. AMAB means assigned male at birth. Trans men are men and trans women are women. I have experienced people having a hard time with this, but you can think of it as if you were a retail worker and now you're an office worker, you're not going to call yourself a retail worker. You're going to call yourself an office worker because that's what you're doing now. So the label trans man represents what a person is now. It's transitioning to man, not transitioning from man to something else. These are also expressed as MTF, male to female, and FTM, female to male. So the surgery terms, top surgery is chest, bottom surgery is from down, Dysphoria is a psychological distress caused by one's body not matching one's perception of themselves. It can also be triggered by misgendering, even if a person doesn't experience dysphoria otherwise. It can be soothed, medicated, treated by basically having the ability to dress matching one's perception of yourself, and for some people, medicating and using hormones to change your body, and sometimes getting surgery to change the way you look, or change, getting help to change your voice. There are trans people who have very light dysphoria, there are some who have very debilitating dysphoria, and there are some who have no dysphoria. And there's also gender euphoria, where people are happy with the way they look, or happy with the way that people acknowledge them. And a person's gender doesn't always match their pronouns, as people usually think about them. And a person's gender doesn't always match how they present as, how they dress and look. If you think about Haku, he's a boy who asserts the fact that he's a boy, but he dresses very pretty and puts on lipstick and stuff. Gender is a playground. Obviously, Haku is having a lot of fun. Oh yeah, and the word for somebody not being trans is cisgender. It comes from the Greek language. The prefix trans meant to change, cis meant to stay the same. So if you were the same gender as you were designated at birth, then you have not changed, therefore are cis. That was so much, I still feel like it's not enough. I started scripting a video about trans character headcanons, and then I realized I should explain what I think being trans is like in the Naruto universe. Think of it as like, this is the Marshfa of trans AU. And a lot of people have trans headcanons that differ from mine, of course. I'm going to be recommending some stories at the end of this video which perceive the Naruto world as being much more transphobic. I like it when all of the characters are trans, so I write the world to be much more trans accepting, just because I find it very hard to believe if the number of characters that I headcanon as trans were trans, and there was still a majority that was oppressing them, Okay, in general, self-medication, at least with meds that are not, like, potentially addictive, it's pretty normal in the pre-boruto world where mental health care is not a thing at all. And therefore, it's easy for dysphoric trans shinobi to get hormones. They're basically, like, over-the-counter. You go to your CVS or your Rite Aid or your Walgreens and you get them. It might be different for clan heads and stuff because they are obligated to have children, or biological children rather, but generally there's no pushback to people getting medication. It is very available. Binders are safer to use because they are made with seals on the insides of them that just send the boobs to another dimension. Voices can also be changed with seals, which is not necessarily how seals work in canon. It's just something that I decided is a thing. And this is, like, widely available information, especially to seal masters. Like, you go to the library and you're able to find this. And even if you don't have access to the seals, shinobi are naturally better at manipulating their voice, like Yamato, because they have more experience doing so for missions and stuff. Shinobi licenses have to be renewed frequently, I assume, because people are getting, like, banged up in all sorts of different ways. Facial scars, ibiki, shikaku, hello. So changing someone's name and other legal information is a pretty simple process. Medical ninjutsu cuts down both wait times and recovery times for gender-affirming surgery. And with henge jutsu, transformation jutsu, people can walk around and try out new body parts. And so part of the, like, consultation for surgery is literally hengeing into what you want your body to look like. And the doctor will be like, yeah, I can do that. And gender-affirming surgeries is part of the medical ninjutsu curriculum. Thank you, Tsunade. Because we all know it was hard. I don't have any idea about, like, asking for other people's pronouns. I think that it's just something that they put in the bingo books. If there's ever a situation where they're, like, introducing something, they'll say their pronouns, but most people just kind of know. Like, when Zabuza and Kakashi meet, they know each other as he, hims, in the same way that they know that Kakashi is the copy nin and Zabuza is the Seven Swordsman guy. And depending on the story, I do different things with the concept of kunoichi. In some stories, I make them exist. Being included or purposely not going to kunoichi classes is a gender-affirming thing, and in others, I just kind of make the concept not exist. And there are shinobi who take different classes in the academy because they choose to, especially medical classes. It's a bit weird whether Mennin is a gender-locked thing in the original series. Like, at the beginning of Naruto, it kind of seems like it is, but then as time wears on, it doesn't seem like it is anymore. And if that was ever part of the practice, we know it's gone by boruto because Iwabe is shown practicing medical ninjutsu. Good for him. I love him. I think that's all I have for world building. I definitely feel like I'm missing something, but I guess I'll update in further videos if I figure out what that is. But now it is time to recommend some of my beloved trans fanfics. There are basically 3 categories of trans fanfics that exist. There are coming out fics, in which a character announces themselves as trans. I didn't wear any rings! No! That's better. That's better. Okay, coming out fics, character announces themselves as trans, and sometimes within that fic, contend with obstacles related to that. The second category is porn, in which transness is not necessarily the focus. Sometimes it is. I'm fairly sure that there are, like, pieces where he has dysphoria, and that is something that they have to contend with. He and whoever have to contend with during the act. That's not the point. Usually it's only brought up because genitals are involved in pornography. And everything else, which is usually longer stories in which characters already know that they're trans and are dealing with things related and unrelated to that. And before we go into the Rex, I'm going to briefly go over some red flags that mark trans fics as ones to avoid. Content warning for transphobia for, like, the next 40 seconds. I'll put up a time skip here. The use of the word futanari should never be used in trans works. It is a kinkification and a fictionalization of trans women and intersex people, and it will not give an accurate depiction of trans experiences. Anything describing trans or other non-endosex bodies as disgusting or disfiguring or anything like that, it could be accompanied by a tag like internalized transphobia, and, like, maybe it's part of the story that that's something that the character has to overcome. But I've seen things like, will he love him even though with his disgusting body? And it's very, I don't trust that at all. I'll let you make your decisions about any of these things, but I don't trust it. Finally, it's something like this. The character embraces his female anatomy, because this makes it seem like genitals are gendered, and they are not. I want to make a distinction that using AFAB terms for genitals is not bad, because, like, I didn't know about the concept of, like, T-dick or T-clit, I guess. I still have not heard anybody use that one. But I didn't hear about those until, like, last year. So I had been writing transfic for a long time before that and been using the assigned gender at birth terms. So in and of itself, using assigned gender at birth terms is not bad, but if you describe any body part as gendered, that is not trans affirming, and I would go so far as to say that it is transphobic. Alright, it's finally recommendation time! Oh yay! Okay, Waiting for the Night, formerly known as Man Is You, is not one I've read in a while, but it is very special to me. To me, it was like the gold standard of trans Naruto fic. It is 20 chapters, it's completed. The story is something like Hidan finds out Kakuzu is trans, and it sets them on a journey of deeper mutual understanding. And eventual love, because we love zombies who go smooch. There is one word in the tags that I don't love that it's there. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. It uses AFAB words for genitals, if that's gonna bother you. There are sex scenes, they're brief, and they're not what the story is about, but if you're looking for stories and you're a child, this is not the one for you. And no, it has a sequel, and it's called Medicine for the Dead. It's ongoing, rated T, and I don't think you have to read the first one in order to understand this one. Medicine for the Dead brings me so much joy because it is my favorite characters in the franchise all hanging out with each other. It is these three in particular, big happy family. Boruto has quite a hard time in this, but trans Boruto is one of my favorite headcanons ever, and the story does it in a really interesting way. And Kakuzu is his mentor, kind of. His elder trans person. Your Hand in Mine is very cute. It's a very short Sakuino piece. I'm kind of afraid to say anything about it because it is so short I could spoil the entire thing. But I highly suggest just go read it. It'll take 30 seconds and it will be very satisfying. The first day of the rest of her/his life is a short coming out piece involving kid Mike Guy and his daddy. It does use she/her pronouns throughout, but it is pretty cute. We love a trans Mike Guy because my favorite ship for Guy and Kakashi is Kakagai, and usually people like make Kakashi trans but won't make Mike Guy trans, and I like it better when they're both trans. Tampons and Gummies is a very lovable story that has trans Deidara interacting with older trans people, Conan and Conan and Yahiko. It does have a bit of internalized transphobia, with the implication of a more transphobic world that Deidara has experienced. But I think it's handleable, and the cuteness of the story really outweighs that. And it has period talk, but it's pretty for all audiences. And you know what's not for all audiences? Everything written by AO3 user Sukirainbow. Everything they've written is some combination of ships involving Conan, Yahiko, Nagato, and Obito. And Conan is trans in all of them. I admit I have not read every one of these, so I can't speak to the quality of like all of them, but the ones that I have read are very adorable and very worth reading, especially if you're a Conan fan. Prompts for Pride is a collection by Flebus. That involves a few trans stories. The one that I've read is called People Like You, and it has Shino and Fu as kids, and they make friends with each other. It's very cute, and Fu is very gender affirming. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention Breathe until now. Breathe and its sequel called Valentine's Day Disaster. There's actually a third one now that I have not read yet, but these are the gold standard before Waiting for the Night was for me. But it stars trans feminine Shino. In the first story is second person point of view from the point of view of trans feminine Shino, and also kind of stars Mitsuki and Rock Lee and those two guys, Izumo and Kotetsu. They're also there, although they don't have a big part in the story. This world in these books is startlingly queerphobic. Like, I'm pretty sure that Shikadai says slur in this. And he doesn't say it, like, to anybody. There's not really any attacking. It's all implied. But it is pretty severe. This one is not... If you are fainter of heart and you only want the fluffy stuff, stick with the ones higher up on the list. I think that this is just a beautiful, beautiful story. Especially the first one, but I do like how it continues. And those are the recommendations that I have. There are actually like 771 trans stories on AO3, and a lot of characters have their own tags, trans character name, trans Uchiha Sasuke. So if I didn't mention one of your faves, try searching for them that way. I thought that I would just like read everything and then give a review of everything, but that's just 771 is just way too many. Maybe someday I'll promote my own stories here. They're not difficult to find. I just don't think that I'm like brave enough to associate my this much of my face with the stories that I've written on AO3. Especially with my AO3 handle that's so stupid because I made it up when I was younger and I don't know how to change it. If you read these, I hope that you love them as much as I do. Thank you for watching, and subscribe if you want to see this series continue, because the next stop is to make videos for every group of characters, and you're gonna want to stay tuned for that. I know you are!